Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
With Tech to the VO stars. George Whittam, founder of Source Elements. Robert Marshall, international audio engineer. Darren Robbo Robertson. And global voice. Andrew Peters. Thanks to Tribooth. Austrian Audio. Making passion heard. Source Elements. George the Tech Whittam. And Robbo and AP's international demos. To find out more about us, check theproaudiosuite.com.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite, thanks to Tribooth. Don't forget the new Tribooth, the Memo, and Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Now today we have a couple of special guests, Ryan Bartley and Justin Shankarow. And the reason we've got them is because George was out one day.
I was outside.
At a concert and heard them talking.
I was allowed out of my building, and I was allowed into that building.
Exactly.
I think it's because the doors were open. They couldn't stop me from walking in. No, I was sitting there. I went to see a client and friend in our industry here, Debbie Derryberry, and her really funny, fun acoustic group. They call themselves Honey Pig. And apparently you guys know Debbie too, because you were there.
Yes. I met Debbie right before that, actually, at a convention, like an anime or I guess just a pop culture convention that we were both guests at. And I went up to her to meet her because she is one of the people I've always looked up to, and she was so warm and welcoming, and she gave me I wanted like one of her prints, with her headshot and her characters and all that to hang in my studio, and she was so happy to give that to me. And I also wanted to tell her she had made appearances on the picket line during the video game strike.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was setting such a good example. And so many of us in the next generation, we all look up to her, and I wanted to tell her that in person, that really meant a lot to see her out there, and marching alongside us and everything. And so and then she invited me to her show. So I had to make an appearance at this. But then it turns out that she's playing with one of my other friends, one of the other actresses, because it's 3 voice actresses in this band, Debbie Derryberry and Brenna Larson and Stephanie Sutherland. And Stephanie and I were friends already. So that was nice. I got, an excuse to see all of them play, and they were wonderful. They did such a good job.
How about you, Justin?
Excellent.
Well, that's a very cool story, way cooler than my story. I loved it. I've actually known Debbie for a long, long time. She was just a guest on my podcast, which you can check out. It drops July 4th, Established in the 90s. We're all about nostalgia and kind of the 90s decade. And Debbie and I worked on a cartoon many moons ago called Life with Louie, which was on Fox. I played a bully character and Louis Anderson's best friend. It was based on kind of Louis Anderson as a kid, the comedian, who's hilarious. And Debbie was in the cartoon too. So we've worked together for years and known each other, and she's just an absolute love and so brilliantly talented, so funny and so great. So I was just there like Ryan, supporting her and her band and, showing her some love.
Excellent.
Nice.
Now, the question is, of course, because we were talking, George actually sent us all an email saying, I've met these 2 guys. They do a lot of looping. They've been doing voice acting since they were kids and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know who wants to go first, but what is your background and when did you start?
I feel like you should go first, Justin.
Me?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, wow. All right. Well,
take it away.
I started at the ripe old age of 5.5.
Wow.
And my first commercial was for Mattel, and I actually was flying in a harness, which was a lot of fun. So I got to fly, and then when they'd say cut, I'd run over to the craft service table and take as many Chips Ahoy cookies as possible, which was great. So I started back then as an older fella and kind of did the trajectory of most actors when they're starting commercials. And then I got into voiceover, and then I got into on camera through guest spots, reoccurring. I did a couple series regulars and TV shows and have done some films. So been in the business for a long, long time, and also very fortunate to do looping and just love it. We as actors, we wear many hats, and we direct, we write, we have podcasts, we do voiceover, we do it all.
Yes,
especially in Hollywood.
Indeed.
That's right.
Before we get to Ryan, I want to ask you, just from a very personal perspective, my daughter pretty much bailed on it about the age you started.
So she started as a baby? Was she a Gerber baby?
She could have been. Not quite. We submitted her, I think she was 1.5, and then we submitted her again when she was like 3.5.
Uh-huh.
And they accepted her, and she was doing print and commercial, that kind of stuff. But it was the getting shuttled around town in my mom's her mom's air conditioned car, listening to her mom complain about traffic, and just the whole thing of that whole process. What do you remember of that at that?
Oh, it's
age?
a schlep. I remember exactly what you just described, but. Yeah, it was.
But you made it through somehow. I mean, your mom or your dad
I enjoyed
or both
it. My mom and dad got me in, and then unfortunately my dad passed away when I was young, and so it was just my mom taking me to auditions and taking me to acting class, and she was amazing.
Wow.
But it was a schlep. I mean, we lived in Redondo Beach, which was like an hour and a half from where all the auditions are in Hollywood and Burbank. Right. And so I do my homework in the car, get to the audition, finish my homework on the way back. We'd maybe stop at the Hard Rock when the Hard Rock was big and get a burger and a milkshake and some fries. So it was, right after school from about 3:15 on to getting home at about 7:30, 8 p.m. pretty much every day. And that was it. School, sports, and acting.
The Hard Rock Cafe, you really are a 90s child, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Full 90s. Love the Hard Rock. Now it's not even there. It used to be at the Beverly Center in L.A. And now I think it's like a clothing store.
Centre of Sydney, there used to be a Planet Hollywood and a Hard Rock, and they're both gone. So
I had some stock in Planet Hollywood. That went to zero.
I was going to say, who gave you that tip, mate?
Not. It wasn't Stallone. Let me tell you that.
We did the opening. Well, wife did the opening of
Planet Hollywood.
What's it called? Planet Hollywood down at the Crown Casino in Melbourne, and Stallone came out for it, and it was so funny because he's so freaking short, and there was a huge crowd. All you could see was lights hovering through the crowd as they were filming him because you couldn't see.
There's Sylvester Stallone somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. Come on, Ryan, give us your story.
Yeah. So I started acting as a kid doing like theater productions. I did a lot of it started with community theater, and I used to take dance classes and singing, and I played guitar and mandolin as a kid, and I liked performing, so I kind of started doing voiceover because I had an agent for on-camera work, and I was based in Texas, and I started getting some voiceover auditions from my on-camera agent and thinking, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, this is, kind of cool. And I don't think at the time I was yet aware that, there's cartoons and there's all these different types of voiceover, because it started with sort of commercial voiceover work, as I remember. And I auditioned to be on Radio Disney. I don't even know if Radio Disney still exists. I don't think it does, actually. But they used to use real kids to do their on-air promos, and it would be like, Radio Disney, we're all ears. Like their little 98.7, and they would have these real kids do it, and promoting things that were on, like the Cheetah Girls this Saturday at the Honda Center, like that kind of promoting all those sort of spots locally for all over the country. But they had a big office in Dallas, and so I auditioned a few years in a row. I remember not getting picked several times, and they would have these open calls at like 1 year it was at a movie theater, 1 year it was at the Texas Rangers baseball stadium. So they'd be at these public places, where you could come out with your whole family and try to be on Radio Disney. So it took me a couple years to get this job, and I really wanted it. And then finally I got picked, and then I kind of felt that was kind of around the time I decided I want to do voiceover. I like this. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm starting to get jobs doing this. And I started taking classes in animation, not to be an animator. I mean, voiceover classes for voiceover in animation. And there's a coach out here in LA named Tony Gonzalez that specializes in teaching children voiceover. And he teaches all the kid stars on all the things that kids are stars of, and has a lot of really successful clients. And he was one of my first voiceover coaches. I think he was coming back and forth between Texas and LA. Like, he would do workshops in Texas sometimes. And I was coming out to LA from Texas for pilot season and episodic to audition for, at the time, on-camera work as well as voiceover. But he helped me find my first representation in voiceover. And then I was auditioning for voiceover even when I wasn't in LA. They would send me these auditions and I would record myself and send it back. Or I think at the time I would, have to go to Dallas to rent a studio or something to record myself because we didn't even have the home microphones or anything like we do nowadays. But anyway, I was basically doing these auditions from Texas thinking if I book something, I'll come to LA and do the job, And I did book a little bit as a teenager, a couple commercials here and there, It's always slow starting out and just dreaming of working in animation, And I just kept at it. I took a lot of classes for many, many years. I went to Arts Magnet High School in Dallas, Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. Really, really great Arts Magnet High School. And then I graduated early and moved to LA to pursue acting. And I took what would have been my senior year of high school, took it off, tried to audition and, be on that grind. Then I went to USC Film School, when I would have normally, if I had gone to high school all 4 years. So I went to USC, went to film school, and continued to pursue acting and do voiceover auditions while I was in college. And it was still really slow to start getting jobs. But eventually, I just kept at it and kept making connections and taking classes and getting better and growing.
You're too stubborn. You're just too stubborn.
Yeah, so now I have a career full-time in voiceover, and I do a lot of anime dubbing. I do a lot of loop group work with Justin, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I do a lot of video games, and I'm in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise now. One of the latest Sonic games, Dr. Robotnik, Eggman, Sonic's nemesis, has developed himself an AI daughter. Her name is Sage. So I'm now in the Sonic.
Really?
I'm his daughter. Yeah.
Can I make a Gen X confession?
What?
Hearing you talk about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
I was out in the garage on the weekend and I found my old Nintendo 64. Do you know what I was doing last night?
What?
I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog on my 1992 Nintendo 64.
That is very cool.
You're going to be a lot of Gen Z people very jealous, I will tell you that right now.
I love that. That's very cool. Well, now I'm in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, which is a dream come true. But I'm in so many things that I'm proud to talk about. I'm in the Hello Kitty I'm Pom Pom Purin, which is one of Hello Kitty's friends. He's the yellow dog. And we have a series called Hello Kitty and Friends Super Cute Adventures that's in its, I want to say 11th or 12th season or something like that. Yeah. And then I'm just so happy to be in lots of cool things that I'm really proud about and happy to talk about. But we're here to talk about looping. So
I've got a serious question for you.
Yeah.
You talked about how difficult it was to get in. Mm-hmm. How and there's a lot of people who listen to our show who want to be voiceover artists and want to get more work.
Yeah.
How important is tenacity in terms of never giving up, never going, oh, well, look, I'm not going to get there. How important was that to get you where you were today?
I mean, you have to truly believe that you can do this. And it really does take years. I remember even when I was training with the person that I mentioned, Tony Gonzalez, that teaches kids, even back then, he told us it takes about 10 years to get established in this, and he was right. I mean, it can really take quite a long time because the people that do it are so good. I mean, it's an incredibly competitive industry to break into, and there's no egos. You can't get an ego. Everyone's very replaceable. Everyone that's working is very, very good. So everyone's very down to earth, and you have to just kind of be good to work with, be solid, be good at what you do, and just keep at it. That's kind of the thing. I just saw an interview with Seth Rogen where he was saying, this is an industry where if you keep at it, you might make it. If you don't, then you won't. And that's like, that's the bottom line is like, given enough time, if you try really hard, this is a thing that's achievable, you know? And you also have to, I mean, there is the factor of luck. But I always, you know, it's one of those things where the harder I work, the luckier I get, you know? I mean, so I always try to be prepared for whatever is coming. But it's a wild west out there, you know? It's a pretty crazy industry, but, you know, I'm thankful to be in it, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. This is, you know, this is my dream.
Well, there might be hope for me yet. 36 years as an audio engineer, I might.
Yes,
might
any day now.
Good. No, it's interesting because it is purely a numbers
It is,
game.
isn't it? You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, you just bang, 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 bang until one of them.
But it
kicks
also
and
never stops,
then,
though.
you know,
I mean,
you're off.
you know, like I said, 36 years as an audio engineer. I mean, I didn't last that long because I didn't sit. I just sat and rested on my laurels. It never stops. The whole, you know.
And it doesn't get easier. Like I tell people all the time, like we still have to audition all the time. It's not like the next job is necessarily easier just because you have established yourself finally, you know. Every single time you're going up against the best of the best, you know. So it is something you have to keep sharp and keep proving yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah, and
you have to make sacrifices as well, like big sacrifices.
Even the voices of like really like iconic characters who you think this is the voice of that character. You know, I think of Bob Bergen and Porky.
Yeah.
He loses that role sometimes. He doesn't get that role automatically. That's not how it works.
Yeah. I know he still has to audition for
guaranteed.
it.
Yeah, nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah, there's a new one, I think, actually. I forget his name.
I believe he's the fellow Eric. Is his name Eric?
Yeah, Eric Bauza.
Eric Bauza, yeah.
Bauza's, he's kind of become the new wonderkind of Looney Tunes.
Mm-hmm.
He just has that gift. And they're like, if we can hire one guy, that's cheaper than hiring two.
Yeah, that's right. My wife sent me a video last night on Facebook, the guy who does the voice of Tigger in Winnie the Pooh. And he had his grandson, like baby, like, you know, 6 months old, sitting on his lap, and he was talking to him in Tigger voice. It was so cute. It was one of those ones you just go, oh, yeah, okay. That's
just Jim
cool.
Cummings.
Wow.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Jim's, he's done okay.
He's done all right.
Yeah.
He still has to audition. I'll tell you, I get emails from him. Scarlet doesn't work. I'm not kidding.
He's on a Scarlet? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Jesus. You think he could do a bit better than that, wouldn't you? Maybe Tigger doesn't pay too much.
Whatever it takes. Sometimes simpler is better. As he always would tell me, he's Amish. So you have to think like an Amish guy.
Absolutely. So you better
that's
feel
interesting.
Sorry, AP, what was that?
I was going to say, if you're Amish, good luck with that one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You've got to pedal your bike to power up Source Connect. Yeah. So, guys, you better fill us in. The reason you're here is because we wanted to talk about looping. So for the uninitiated, give us a 50-second rendition of what looping's all about.
All right. So if you see Spider-Man flying across the sky and you hear all the pedestrians below going, "Whoa, what was that? Did you see that? Look up there." All of that in every movie, every TV show. We're talking every group crowd scene, every courtroom, every mall, every food court. All the noises that you hear in every movie and TV show is done in post-production by voice actors called a loop group. Because on the set, you know, you've heard quiet on set. They can't let these extras talk because they're recording principal audio of the celebrities, you know, so it's quiet on set. All the things you hear are done in post-production, and that is what's called a loop group. It's voice actors, and we're brought in to fill in all that. It can also be all sorts of other random things, including fight efforts, kiss noises, because a kiss, like the smack, like a noise, doesn't pick up on the mic when the actors are on set doing that. So it's us making out with our hands, making that noise.
They do that with a loop group, not with Foley?
No,
so it's basically vocal Foley by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
right?
we do. Well, it can be. Yeah, that part of it, you know. But and then I don't know if Foley artists also sometimes do it. I don't know. I know that we do it. I know we do it sometimes in loop group.
They do the sheets.
And then it's also things like you. Yeah, they probably do.
I hope they're clean.
Also things.
I was going to say, also for anybody listening, not watching this because we're seeing each other on video, when Ryan said making out with a hand, She was talking about kissing her hand.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yeah,
there.
yes. But we also do, it can be things like PAs over intercoms in hospital scenes. It can be police radio, any police radio that you hear in movies. It can be airline cleanup edits for, say, they're going to put this R-rated thing on the airline, on some airline, and they need you to pick up a line. So, like, for example, I got into this part of voiceover by being cast as a voice match for a on-camera teeny bopper celebrity, basically, and she couldn't come in to do whatever pickup they had, so they needed a voice match, and the person that cast that ran a loop group, and that's how I got into that world. So it's also the people that would hire the voice matches sometimes are loop group leaders.
So what about particular stuff like say there was like a hostage movie and you never see the character, but there's a dude that's always on the two-way. Is that a loop group, or is that someone that they specifically cast, or does it depend on the director? How does that sort of stuff work?
Depends on the director and depends how many lines it is. So if it's not a ton of lines, they might trust the loop group leader to bring in people on the day that are going to be in the loop group anyway, and they will have a few different men do alts of that. So a few different people try takes of that, and then maybe the director wants to decide who they're going to use later when they're editing it. But if it's scripted and it's a lot, like it's a bigger role, then it could be then like an actual role that is cast. And sometimes if it's just a voiceover role, a loop group leader might be in charge of casting that role. It kind of depends on the director's preference sometimes, and then also how much are we talking about? Because if it's more than a couple lines, they have to pay you more too. So at that point, they're probably going to cast someone and have auditions and stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so how many times do you fit in a goofy line? They're like, make a conversation. It's like all this big walla, and then you're like, oh my God, did you see the zit on her face?
Look at the size of her ass. My God, that's massive. Yeah.
Justin, do you want to take that one?
Not too often, because we want to work again.
Come on, Justin, you look like the type of guy.
Our purpose is to blend in, not stick out. You know what I mean? So it's like we have to, it's almost like, because it's all improv for the most part. Every once in a while, there's a scripted line. They call that a specific, or, they might tell you we have a scripted moment, right? But a lot of it is improv, but your job is basically to do unfunny improv. This is like, don't draw attention to yourself. Like, keep it neutral, keep it ND, which nondescript, and blend into the world so that you don't, because when you want, if it's good, you won't notice it. It's one of those kind of things. So it's like if it pokes out, then you're maybe not doing it right.
That's what she said.
Like, do you almost find that if you literally don't use real words, you can go more into the background than if you are saying
real
words?
Well, there's a name for that. It's called Chomsky. And it's like where you're mush mouth, like, well, I always say a role, but not quite. And some directors actually prefer that, believe it or not. There's some shows stylistically they prefer that sound.
What's it called again? Chomsky?
What is it, Justin?
Chomsky chatter.
Chomsky.
So it's more like a walla as opposed to actual specific words that you're saying. You just
it's kind of it's like it's like imagine if you had marbles in your mouth, so you're not fully making out the words. So it's just really good to kind of blend into the background and create that ND.
It doesn't fight the dialogue so much. Yeah.
It's like speaking in words, but not quite as
You mean speaking in tongues?
In tongues, right. Speaking in tongues.
Speaking in tongues. I was going to say, it's speaking in words.
Isn't that what everyone does? Well, I don't do that personally.
It's kind of like a mush mouth version where you're like, oh, I'm going word, but not quite word. Like, it's kind of that thing.
Yeah.
It's like talking to my teenager.
Sounds like me on the weekend.
Yeah, there you go.
So from that, the question comes for me then, are you doing this in studio or are you doing this in location? Like, if it's Spider-Man on the side of the building, are you in an alleyway somewhere, or is it all done in studio and then sort of matched up later? How do they do that?
Yeah, they're not paying for this on set. I imagine.
This is on a soundstage, but I have been asked to go outside for certain cues depending on the editor's preferences.
I was going to say, as an editor, I would like outside stuff recorded outside.
Sometimes they do. So I worked on Joker 2, Foley, and we did record a few scenes outside because we were recording on the lot on Warner Brothers. And we're, you know, how there's mob scenes in Joker, all these people outside chanting and stuff. So yeah, we did a couple cues out. I don't know if what we recorded made if that version of those takes made the cut. But yes, it's a stylistic choice. It depends on what the sound designer wants.
It's just because it's so hard. It's so hard to make something inside sound outside.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, even with the best sound stages.
Yeah.
But at 99.99999%, you're shooting at a stage. I mean,
because it's controlled.
Like,
that's the thing.
Right.
You've got no airplanes going over or car horns or whatever. Yeah, that's right.
But it's fun when we do go outside. It's like you're taking a field trip. It's like, oh, now we're doing something different. Like, this is kind of exciting and different. They have to get a boom, you know?
Now bring your lunch, kids, and bring your water bottles.
Bring your water bottles. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys melt because of the sun?
Yeah.
Is it like,
No. I think we leave that for like the end of the day kind of thing. Yeah.
So come on, name drop, both of you. Anything big that we'd know? Not that we'd know, not that we'd heard you in, but what, you know, where would you
I want to
find?
hear, what are some of your coolest ones, Justin?
Yeah, come on, let's come on.
I have a fun one. I was in, this is way back in the day, I got called to come in to do Good Will Hunting. And just because Gus Van Sant was directing it, and I was actually a huge fan of him. I didn't know any of the actors in it because they were just beginning. And we had to audition. It was Eric Von Detten, who I don't think works anymore, but he was a pretty big 90s star. It was myself and like 6 other actors who auditioned on the stage, which is very rare. Usually you go in, you have the job, but we had to audition for Gus Van Sant. And he chose Eric and I, and we went on the stage and we performed in this scene. I don't know if you remember the movie, but it takes place on a basketball court, and we played the kids at one end who run over and are yelling, at these other kids to beat the hell out of Matt Damon. So we had like Boston accents and we're cursing and yelling. And Matt Damon came up to me, and I didn't know who Matt Damon was or Ben Affleck was. I thought they were PAs because they looked so young. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, thanks so much for coming on." And I said, "Yeah, of course. I'm thrilled to be here." I was 16. And he's like, "Can I get you anything?" I was like, "A cappuccino would be great." And so Matt Damon brought me a cappuccino.
Wow, you did?
Yep, that's right. Awesome. And then, suddenly 9 months later, I was watching them win the Oscar. So that was fun.
Wow.
4-Year-Old Virgin was really fun. I got to work with Seth Rogen, kind of going back to what Robert was saying. Usually 99.9%, just like Ryan mentioned, we're very ND, blend in the background, no cursing, you don't want to stand out. But Seth, who was in the film and produced it, was there with us, and he wanted us to go buck wild. So he's like, "I want you to curse up a storm. I want you to go wild." And we were it was like the nastiest bathroom humor you would ever imagine. One of the most fun days I've ever done looping.
What scene was that?
Oh, it was like half the movie.
Oh, okay. So a whole bunch of them.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, we were cursing. Yeah. I'll give you just the last one.
So can you ever pick yourself out when you watch the movie?
Yeah, sometimes, because I have kind of a little bit of a distinct voice. You can hear, I did B-movie a lot with Jerry Seinfeld. I did ADR. I'm all over that movie. But there was another movie that
Actually, tell me about B-movie, because that's one of our favorite movies in the house with the kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I played one of the beekeepers in ADR. They got called in. I worked on it for like 3 days. Every day, Jerry Seinfeld had a different Porsche that he'd show up in.
Of course,
but he was cool. Yeah. He was cool. I'll give you a last story, which Frank Marshall directed. He was a massive film director, and it was one of those movies, I forget, but it was, how they would have like the Valentine's Day movie, and they put all these stars together, like the July 4th movie. And I think it was the Valentine's Day movie. And it was on a film, a lot of times, they'll have a lot of loopers there. Not so much anymore, but back in the day, there'd be like 18 of us or 22. Where Ryan and I, typically work on TV shows now where there's like 4 people or 6 people, maybe 8. But back then they had, a lot of folks who would show up. And there was a kissing scene. And like Ryan mentioned earlier, you take your hand and you kind of kiss into it. But Frank Marshall's assistant and one of the assistant editors, they threw into the group. Because in what we do, it's a lot of like, we're pros, but you get a lot of friends or cousins or nephews that get thrown into the group with us who are must-hires, which is always fun. That's another story. So what happens is there's this kissing scene, and it's these 2 folks who have never done looping in their life. And I yell out, "Well, really lay one on her. You really got to kiss her fully." And he had no idea. She had no idea because they'd never done it before. So we hear beep, beep, beep. And he turns to her, grabs her, and gives her a full kiss with tongue. I was dying. Everybody was laughing so hard. Oh my gosh, that was one of my funniest moments.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a classic.
So, yeah.
I've told this story before. I've told the guys this story before, I think. But talking about like ADR or picking up lines, it was a movie. Russell Crowe had done a movie. I think it was called Pearly's something. I've never seen the film. Anyway, so I get sent an audition from my agent to say, we need to do a pickup line for Russell Crowe. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. So, and they sent me a bit of the dialogue of Russell Crowe. Now, it wasn't, you've got to remember that Russell Crowe is actually from New Zealand, but he's sort of seen as an Australian. So you kind of go, okay, well, that'll kind of work. Tonally, yeah, I can do that. That's fine. But then I played the dialogue of the actual film that I was actually dropping into for the ADR. And it's Russell Crowe, who's a New Zealander, grew up in Australia, playing an American Irish guy in New York.
Holy smoke.
I'm like,
Aye.
are you kidding me?
lad.
Yeah.
Aye.
That's a lot of layers.
Yeah, that was
That is
fun.
a lot of layers.
Obviously, I didn't get that
Absolutely.
gig. But
Totally.
Ryan, lay down some of your faves.
Oh yeah, so well, I'm very honored to have gotten to work on a lot of the Marvel movies, including Infinity War, all of the new Spider-Man movies. What is it? I think Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. A few of the latest X-Men movies, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Some really cool animated movies like Boss Baby, Captain Underpants. What else? Oh, I have a cool little line, a moment in the new Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, nice.
The new live-action Lilo and Stitch. It's me that's the aardvark-looking alien that says something like, in 12 hours he's expected to land on a planet called Earth. So I mispronounce Earth.
Typecasting.
A classic moment that's also in the animated film, but in the live-action, the new live-action one, it's me. And yeah, some TV shows like I was a big fan of the original Sex and the City. I got to work on when they rebooted it as it's called And Just Like That. And I got to do some of that, which was really cool for me personally.
My wife loves Sex and the City.
I love the show. You know, similarly, I got to do a little bit of the Dexter New Blood, and I was a big fan of the original Dexter, so that was exciting. And then I also got to do the Gossip Girl reboot. So it's you know, a lot. We're in like reboot, you know, sequel-ville. So it's a lot of those. But it's cool when it's like something that you worked on or that you watched in the day.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like, oh, now it's back and I get to work on it. And then a couple others are like I do The Boys and Gen V. So yeah, just like a lot of cool random, and those are shows that I would watch. Like these are great shows that I enjoy. The Boys is pretty violent, but like these are shows that I they're very critically acclaimed. They're really cool shows, and when we work on them, we get to see it before everybody else.
Totally.
So it's cool if you like the behind the scenes of movies. I went to film school, so I love seeing the different stages of a film, and we're seeing it when it's pretty close to being out, because this is one of the last things that
last minute
happens.
stuff.
Yeah, this is in
After the audio
post-production.
mix is done.
So it's like, it's already, for the most part, picture locked. They've made some decisions, and they're feeling one way or another about the product. By this point, they're either nervous or they're excited. Sometimes they know they've got gold, and sometimes they're nervous, and you get to see that, And so it's fascinating from like the behind the scenes perspective, and then just some like a couple of moments that stuck with me. I will say that sometimes if it's a director that's really hands-on, maybe it's their first movie, their first feature, or they're just young and hungry, they will actually sometimes be there in the session. And that has been really cool when people have made appearances. Like for Y2K, Kyle Mooney came, and he was a delight to work with. He was so funny and like willing to experiment, and like he was just laughing at what we were given. loving him, and he loved our improv, and he was pitching us things to say, and we were pitching him back ideas, and he was just cracking up, and he was just a delight to work with. And then another one that really stuck out was I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Emerald Fennell, a young female director who did. I worked with her on Promising Young Woman, but I think she also did Saltburn and some other things that are very highly acclaimed, and she was really cool, like, because you get to see what they're going for, like this, like if they're really hands-on like that and they care enough to show up, the directors, then it's because they're using the sound design in a very effective way, that they want to capture some sort of tone or flavor that's like really important to their overall theme or vision. So if they care enough to show up like that, then it's going to be a cool experience to get kind of inside their head, like, oh, what are we going for?
I can give you a really good example of that, actually, just quickly. Are you guys aware of the movie Hunt for Red October?
Of course, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So it's for those who don't know, it's about a Russian submarine that they've developed a silent drive for this submarine. So effectively, as part of the movie, it can park nuclear missiles, 100 miles offshore of LA, and no one would know it's there. Right?
The captain of the Red October, he's Scottish.
He's Sean Connery.
He's a Scottish Russian.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, the story goes, and I've had this confirmed by a couple of people, that the movie was actually pretty much finished, right? But the issue the director had was that obviously you can't have nothing in a movie. You can't have complete silence. You have to have a sound for the silent drive. And the director was never happy. Every time they sat him down in a theatre and showed him the reel where the first time the submarine engaged silent drive, he was like, no, it's too noisy, or it's not this, or it's not that, blah, blah, blah. And this went on for weeks. And finally they had a showing for the director. And again, it was like, no, there's this one. And the sound designer guy goes, fuck this, this is just bullshit, fucking storms out of the room, goes up upstairs and is sitting on the roof smoking a cigarette, and there's an air conditioning vent next to him. And it's rattling, it's going dong, 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 dong. He goes downstairs, the director's leaving, he says, give me 20 minutes. Just go and have a coffee, come back in 20 minutes. He went upstairs with a location recorder, recorded this thing, took it downstairs, spun it around, slowed it down, blah, blah, did this, did that, threw it into the scene. Director comes back and goes, that's the sound.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
So, there was also the other thing with, remember Red October, that story about the submarine where there was not enough height to have a boom?
Yeah.
Oh. So the guy was live mixing. They just
they had mics all through the cabin.
Through the thing.
Yeah, and they were recording. Yeah.
So as he's walking, he's switching.
Well, you can't do wireless as much in a submarine either. It's
you can't do anything. They just had to have all these mics all the way down through the cabin, and he was live.
Was it a submarine or was it a set? It probably wasn't an actual metal.
Yeah, a set, but a set of a submarine.
Metal,
yeah.
Thanks,
there was
Robert.
no room for a boom.
Thanks.
Yeah. No room for anything.
Yeah,
the ruiner.
Can't watch
that. So when the pandemic hit you guys, was it a freak out moment for the two of you, or did you already have a well-established home studio and you're like, hey, we're ready to rock? What was that like for you guys?
I think it was. It was fine for us, fortunately. I mean, work definitely slowed down initially because it was kind of like, what is going to go on? How long is this going to last? Are we going to be back on stage? And then once it kind of settled in that, no, this is how it's going to be, I mean, I'm pretty sure, Ryan's got a pro setup, and I had a fine setup previously because we've been auditioning for voiceover remotely for years at this point. I mean, we used to always go into audition at our agents for voiceover auditions, and that's gone away for, quite a long time.
But did you guys consider your studio, though, a audition studio, or were you doing work at home on a regular basis?
I was not.
That's a good point. I was not either. It was mostly auditioning.
Yeah, there was a time where, when COVID hit, where everyone had to figure out how to do this remotely, something that really benefits from having all the actors together on a soundstage. So there was like a period of a couple months where people were kind of like figuring it out. But once we all learned how to do it this way, and got used to the new recordings, different websites that we were using to log on, some editors actually kind of liked it better because now they have everyone on ISO, and they can make it what they call denser or thin it out. So it's like if we're doing a crowd scene and there were too many voices, everyone's on ISO. So now you have a little bit more freedom. And there's
the problem. Not everyone's in the same room though. So you also have this blending issue. It's like a benefit and it's harder at the same time.
I think harder work for them to put it all together and to make everyone sound like they're in the same room. But if you like the control, then I'm still working on a show that the editor likes the control. Like that's how they prefer it that way. So they never. I don't know. They didn't go back to in studio for this show.
Never came
so
back.
So it just depends on the preference. But before the pandemic, I did have this booth, and I was only using it for auditions. This was and auditioning is a big part of our job, so I was using it a lot.
Yeah.
But not. I did not necessarily have to have my audio quality perfect.
Do you audition as a group?
No.
For animation, for commercials, for different stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
yeah.
Just
Okay.
normal auditions for cartoons and anime, whatever, other random auditions, So, but that's a lot of our job. I mean, I auditioned every day. And like Justin said, back, 10 years ago, we used to go into our agencies for auditions. And we kind of phased out of that. And then if anyone was still doing that during, when the pandemic hit, it definitely put an end to that because they were not allowing clients to come in person. So it was like, figure out how to do it from home. And those of us that already had booths were really lucky because, we had kind of already been starting to do it from home. But there was an adjustment period for sure, and now everyone that I feel like if you're working a lot, you're probably pretty proficient at recording yourself from home at this point because now it's like it's expected, you know. But it wasn't like that before, for sure.
I've got a couple of questions I was going to ask. Firstly, who were your agents? Justin, who was your agent that used to go in?
I've had a few. I used to go in all the time at ICM, and then I was at WME. And then during the pandemic, WME shut down. So then I switched over. I'm at Innovative right now. So yeah, I've been at Innovative for probably 6 years. But there's a handful of really good kind of voiceover agents.
Yeah.
I'm with Atlas Talent. I won't take you through the whole history because I've been with a lot of agents over the years. But I actually, believe it or not, have never physically been into Atlas because I signed with them I think maybe 2020, early 2023 or something like that, I want to say. I forget. But it was after I was already used to recording my auditions from home. So when I met with them about representation, I think it was just a short conversation over the phone. And then I sent them all my demos remotely, and we never had a face-to-face conversation. And it has been fine. Like they know what I sound like. They hear my auditions. They know how to pitch me. They book me. It's all good. Like I have never had to go over to their office, and who knows if I ever will. Why would, like, we handle so much of our business over emails, and I'm recording my own auditions. But this is, I think, the first agency I've been with that I have that relationship with where I have never been into it, because before I was recording auditions from all my other agencies. And then the last one before Atlas, I was the one where I stopped going in. I was going in, and then I decided it's a long drive, and I'm getting better at using my own microphone and my own home setup. So I'm just going to start recording myself, and then you never go back. Once you start doing that, you learn, you're comfortable, you get into the groove, and you know your own process, and then you kind of fall into auditioning only remotely.
It's funny with Atlas because Atlas moved a few years ago.
See, I would not know.
Yeah, but their old building, it was funny because a friend of mine lived just behind their old building, and in that building on the top floor is a nightclub called Soho House. And he said, do you want to let's go to Soho House for a drink? I'm like, okay. So we walk up the back lane from his house into the car park where the lift is, and I said, I've been here before. And I couldn't work out why I'd been there before. Is because Atlas used to be in that building.
Now they're right over here on the west side. They're 5 minutes away from me now.
Yeah.
And they had a booth, and they moved the booth, and they put the booth together, and they never used the booth, and they sold it.
No. Dean Panaro probably keeps his dogs in the booth now.
No, that booth's gone.
So here, I have a question. Do you ever have to do accents from within the crowd?
Yeah.
It comes up? Okay.
Sure.
Even though you're blending, there's still that kind of detail or that
Well, usually
Oh,
it's
yeah.
done separately. Usually you'll do like a kind of an accent track separately. So I mean, I was just working on a show last week where we were doing Chinese and Russian. So, you know, they're gonna not typically do the English pass in the same way. That way they can ISO it out or mix it the way they want it. But yeah, we do English accents and accents from all around the world. All the time.
Gotcha.
And languages too. I mean, as a looper, I speak a couple of languages. A lot of loopers speak many languages.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because sometimes I've found this trick, and so I do commercials, and I never have the luxury of having a group. So I'm always rummaging through the sound effects library. And one of the tricks I use is I love like a Dutch crowd in an English spot, because then there's no words that pop out. It's all like what it's basically
That's
what you were talking
fascinating.
about.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll specifically go like, hey, give me
Wow.
like some other language here, because
Oh, we're going to lose Justin in 1 minute, just FYI.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay, listen, before we go, anybody who would like to become a looper or thinks they could do it, a bit of advice, and should they even?
And should you move to LA to do it?
I mean, we're very fortunate to work in looping. It is an incredibly small niche group of improvisers and voiceover actors that do it. But kind of, I would go back to what Ryan said earlier. If you're passionate and hungry about something and you really feel that you have the talent, you want to do it, then I would say it's absolutely possible. There are some loop group leaders who have classes that they teach, and I would highly recommend, if you were a total novice, that would probably be a good way to try to get your foot in the door. But it's definitely a small group of actors that do most of the work, and it's very hard to break in.
It would have to be age diverse, though, wouldn't it? Like, you'd
is.
have to have a huge age group, because, I mean, you could be very specific in terms of what you wanted in terms
Yeah.
of your loop too, right?
Yeah. I always tell people to take their voice matching auditions seriously, because that's how I got in. And
Right.
it's not necessarily a glamorous job to be the airline version of an edit for a famous person. You know what I mean?
So what?
But like, that's how I made those connections, was booking a voice matching job for a live action movie that no one will ever know that I did that one line, you know what I mean? But it led to other things for me. So just taking every opportunity seriously and trying your best, and, you know, being pleasant to work with and reliable, and, you know, that's how it happened for me. So that's what I tell people.
That's a great answer. I got to pop because I'm taking a stand-up comedy class because I'm not funny. But it's just, we always got to be studying and adding more tools to our toolkit. This was great. Ryan is amazing. She, you continue with her. I'm in the back seat anyway. And thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Justin. Cheers,
Bye,
mate.
Justin.
So, Ryan, I'm interested to know, obviously they have ideas about what they're looking for, but are they very specific in terms of what they'll ask for, or is it some of it left up to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the movie. It depends on the team. But most of them care very deeply about what they're doing, and they're very specific about what they're looking for. That's why, they're spending money and time on this part of post-production specifically. And this is a serious thing. Like this, they want the best of the best, and sometimes they have very specific things in mind that they're looking for, and they're not gonna phone it
Yeah,
in
that's right.
on a multi-million dollar movie. Like this, like every stage of this has to be good. They're not gonna fumble that close to the end zone. When you're talking about like one of the last parts of post-production. So they're pretty precious about some of these, depending on the high profileness of the project, or I've even had cues where something very secretive happens in one of those really big movies like that, the Marvel type movies, where it's like this really secretive project where they actually won't show you the picture. They tell you a vague description of what's happening, because they can't even literally tell you what's happening because it's so NDA and it's such a high profile thing, that they give you just a description of something similar enough to get from you what they want. And that would only happen in cases where it's like, this is the twist of the movie. This is the climax. Like this
Luke,
is
I am your father.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
that
those
sort of
really
thing.
intense, those really, really important moments where they cannot trust to get to let this out at all because like the whole
Do you
franchise
have to, like,
depends
ever
on
turn
it.
your cell phone in?
Oh yeah,
when you walk into the place.
Yep, they have tape
Detail.
that they will wrap around it.
No, I haven't seen
for
it,
some
no.
studios. So yeah, so that's happened before. So they take this all very seriously. Like they definitely want a certain vibe, and this is not like phoning in it. Even though it sounds like this is background noise, this is mumbo jumbo in the background. Doesn't matter. I promise you, it does matter. For Spider-Man, Homecoming, he goes to a science magnet school. He goes to a tech high school, a technology high school. So they told us before the session, they said when he's in one of his classes, they're teaching Bohr's theory of the atom on the board. So look up that. So we had to be in his classroom sharing notes about Bohr's theory of the atom. It's that specific. It's not like they don't say, classroom stuff. They tell you what subject, what is actually on the board in the background, and they want you to research that
when
ahead
you're a
of time.
bunch of nerds
Bring
making
it in.
content for nerds, you got to be accurate. You know what I mean?
It's something you would never notice if you watch the movie. You barely notice. Next time you watch it, check it out. You'll see that. Oh yeah, that's what they're studying, and that's what the Loop Group was talking about in that moment.
Cool.
Even if it's just little whispers to someone next to you in class, But we had to be like referring to that. That was what was happening in that world. So it gets really specific, and they want it to be as accurate to what it would be really happening in that moment as possible.
Have you watched any of the studio on Apple TV?
I have, yes, yeah.
Did you watch? Do you watch it and laugh? Do you watch it and cringe? Do you think it's so accurate? Do you love it?
I love it. But I also have only seen the first, I think, 3 or 4 episodes. Okay. So if it gets into sound design, I haven't gotten there yet.
No, not really. But it's just
I love
the oneer.
Yeah, the one. I mean, it's great. It's beautiful. And a lot of those, even notwithstanding that episode, a lot of the scenes are very, very long shots. It's beautifully shot. I mean, as someone that went to film school, I'm eating it up. So I'm so digging the cinematography on that show,
inside
especially
baseball.
that episode. It is, but it makes total sense to us. You know, it's like this is the life that we actually live, and we, But it's the beats, the comedy beats are so great too. It's just a really tight show.
If you guys haven't
really
seen
poppin'.
it, find a clip of it.
It's so good.
If you're going to watch one episode because you just want to dip in, just watch the one called The Oneer.
The Oneer.
Just watch that one.
Studio. What's it on?
Apple TV.
Studio?
Apple TV.
Apple TV.
Yeah, it's Seth Rogen's new show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. I would like to loop on that. I have never worked on that one.
There you go. You need to put your hand up.
I would love to be a PA, because it's like, one of the things that I did get to work on was Being the Ricardos.
Cool.
Which was nominated for Best Picture. My dream is truly to loop on something that wins Best Picture.
Sure.
I've worked on a couple things that got nominated. I worked on A Complete Unknown, and I worked on Being the Ricardos. And Being the Ricardos was cool because it took place in that Hollywood era. It took place in that same era that I studied a lot in film school, and I got to actually use that and use those sorts of terminology and stuff. So that was really cool. But working on the studio would be like, that would be really neat.
Is there an Academy Award for Best Looper yet?
No, there's not.
No, so you need to put your hand up.
Most unnoticed loop group.
Yes.
There's sound design, which, like I said, I worked on A Complete Unknown, and that was actually nominated for Best Sound Design last year. So that's the closest we'll ever get. It's like, we're in there. We're part of that.
That's pretty good, though. That's awesome.
You consider the loop group like part of like sound design, and it's kind of in this like
very, very
more
behind
Foley,
the scenes.
more sound design realm. I'd agree.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, it's been amazing. It's actually something I was I knew it happened, but I never realised how deep it actually went. I just thought they walked around the lot, grabbed a bunch of people and threw them on the soundstage and said, right, we need you to do this, 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 and this. I never realised it was so involved.
Such a specialised thing.
I thought they used more of the sound effects like you and I suffer through, and they only bring you guys in when it's kind of
absolutely
more
necessary.
precise that they need to get. But as you said, they have multi-million-dollar budgets, and they're not going to just mess
fumble
up.
That close.
So,
they're serious about it.
It's funny. So now when they say like Hollywood sound effects library, we know it's total BS.
Totally,
not really
that's
using
right.
it.
No one's
for
using
the most part,
it.
these are loop groups, and I have a big binder. Like we all have to research so many different things. So I have a big binder full of all the rules of all the sports, that's a given. Every sport, like fake sitcom scenes, because they always have like a TV on in the background where they need a fake sitcom. We have every like subject. Of course, Bohr's theory of the atom is in there now. But I looped on a show about girls skateboarding. It's called Betty, I think, on HBO. It's all skateboarding. So I have the anatomy of a skateboard. I have I have dissections of like every animal, frog, cow, worm, because they always do dissections in movies, especially horror movies. They love to do dissection scenes in high school. So I think that one was from maybe Slender Man or something. I think it was Slender Man that I had to research, initially, my first dissection. Yeah. But now I have every animal. And it's like, so we have this just giant binder basically of research of like a crazy amount of random things that that come up in movies. And there's some things, like I said, dissections, sitcoms on TV in the background. There's some things that come up all the time. Prison PAs, radio cop, police radios, emergency responders on site, EMTs, all that kind of stuff comes up in like every TV show and every movie. So we have a lot of that, but it's a lot of research. Like that's part of our job is look.
So do you watch a lot of Cops to research your police radios and all that sort of stuff? Is that how you do it?
We were like, one of my coaches is like, listen to police radio scanners. You can listen to it. It's a public, there's an app. So we are expected to literally be getting accurate stuff that would really be said on a police radio.
Ultra precision
and
improv.
it even gets down to like, we have to know the codes, 10-4, whatever, your basic codes. And we also know like there's some specialty things for different major cities. So it gets that specific. I have maps, every borough of New York City I have maps of, so that I can say, he's in Midtown right now. Like,
pick out
so
street
I can
names and stuff.
Pull out street names, pull out, areas and stuff like that. And they'll tell you. They'll say, this is Greenwich Village in this scene, and we'll flip to our Greenwich Village notes,
Wow.
So it's that specific. So it's a lot of research.
Right.
And this is...
They're relying on you to do a lot of that. That's
they
so
are, aren't they? Isn't that incredible?
Just give you...
that's
say a bunch of these words within here, like make it up, and here's your... That's interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
It's a lot of improv.
I do find that true. It's like weathermen and it's like sometimes trying to find the right little piece of nothing that's on the TV in the background is really annoying.
I know.
And I've done it a bunch. I've gone into the booth and just said whatever it is, like trying to be like because it's like, and you're searching through the sound effects library for 40 minutes. You're like, God damn it, I'll just go in there.
Right.
And
it's easier sometimes.
That's why
isn't it?
we haven't been AI'd into oblivion yet, because it's still harder to dig around and find just the right library thing than it is to just get your fresh thing from real actors that are going to make it custom for your movie or film or TV show. And another thing that comes up all the time is QVC. I don't know why. Yeah, like selling watches on the TV, and it's like someone falls asleep in front of the TV. It happens in like every horror movie. It's
Well, sound effects guys can only use the Wilhelm screen so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
Or can they?
Yeah, that's right.
I find a way to put on everything.
It's like, that's never going away. That thing that will always be around.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Well, right. I don't think I'll ever watch a TV show or a movie the same now. I know all this.
Thank you. Yeah, listen closely.
So much for your time.
Thank you, guys. No, thank
real
you.
Education.
It's been such a delight. Thank you for having us. We had so much fun getting to chat with you guys, and I love seeing it from your perspective too. That's fascinating, and I'm glad to know that it takes you time to dig through those libraries, because we don't want to be unemployed.
You'll be right.
No, I would say it's not just a luxury, but actually it would save time. But one question I had is you guys are on a flat rate. There's no residuals.
There are residuals.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there are residuals on all the TV and all the films. So,
see, why don't sound designers get residuals?
I know.
That's right.
I know.
Totally.
No, and we're very grateful for that. I mean, it's a scale day rate, and we get residuals. So this is how a lot of us qualify for our health care through the union. And we feel very blessed. That's why we're scared that we're going to be replaced. And, that's why it's such a tight-knit community, is because this is
going to be a long time before that happens.
This is a thing that we feel very, very blessed and grateful to have, and we really hope it doesn't go away. But, we'll see. We do not take it for granted. I think that we kind of think that they're going to try to AI us out of existence, but I think they're going to fail. Like it seems like they're going to try and then they're going to realize, that took too much time and that was harder than just hiring real people.
It's going to be like the sound effects library.
Yeah.
It's going to be more of a pain in the butt.
Too much time.
And you're going to get better results faster with artists than you are with computers.
I hope so. From your mouth to God's ears. I hope so. That's the hope. And I think so far, I mean, look, AI is not new. And I had a Loop Group gig this morning. Today, remotely. We're still doing it remotely. And I did it from home with a group based in New York. And you know, so it hasn't replaced us yet. It still is not there, but we don't know. I mean, we are not taking anything for granted. We feel very thankful to be still doing it, but of course we're very aware that could end. We just don't know, like, is AI gonna get that good or not? I don't think so, because I have to think that.
I'll say this: it's going to be good at multiplying you. So there's like, for instance, they'll do this already. You have like a stadium full of people, but really, the stadium's only filled with like the first 10 benches, and then software is like able to like replicate it. So I think that they'll be able to use AI to double up and to create variations. But there's going to be a need for initial, like, setting the stage and getting the basic kind of sound of whatever environment it is. And that's where you guys are going to come in. But there's going to be tools where you're not going to be doing like, all right, let's layer that 8 times. The software might layer it 8 times for you in the future, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, because that's like one of the harder, more tedious parts of our job. We'll see. But I mean, there's so many cues that we're talking about that we also cover that are so specific. Like I said, my line in Lilo and Stitch, I mean, that was done in a Loop Group day. Like that's a line. In one of the Spider-Man Far From Home, there's a moment where he passes someone on the street and the lady says, knocked monkey, and runs off. And he's visiting Germany. That's me saying knocked monkey. So so it's like there's so many little moments that it's like this is not like we are talking about group noise and crowds and stuff like that, quote unquote walla, but we're also talking about very specific things that need to be in basically verbal jokes, like jokes that are like off camera or just like someone ordering or the QVC, the radio on and the radio on in the car, the cop radio, the PA announcement in the hospital. These are all like very specific things still, and that's also done in the Loop Group. So it's like AI maybe will get rid of some of our walla tracks that are just crowd noises maybe, but so much of our job is more detailed and more specific, and it's just,
the video game side, what I hear from the video game world is, first of all, game is expensive. It's a big investment to produce and to buy. It's not something you can just download on Netflix, right? It's a big deal. And the fans are extremely ravenous about quality. And if they will detect fakery, believe it or not, you're thinking, well, it's a game. But if they hear fake voices, they hate it.
Really?
They know
it.
They want authentic voices in these made-up worlds. You know what I mean? It's very important to them.
I hope so.
And they want to meet those. No, and they want to go to Comic-Con. And they want to meet the voice of that thing, and they want to take a picture of that person, get a signed. That's extremely important to them. You cannot replace that with AI.
I hope
There'll be novelty or very unique things that are built. That the AI is a thing, who knows? But I mean, it's not going to replace the human element. I keep saying that. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping. I sometimes wonder, do these producers, whoever owns the content, the license holder, do they know that the actors themselves are so important to the fan experience?
That's good.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do they care? I don't know. But I have to hope.
I'll tell you, there's directors, and I tell this story, and it just warms my heart. My friend was trying to do a ADR line, and the actor couldn't hit it very well. At the end of the day, actor's gone, and my friend, the engineer, basically like goes in and fixes it and comes up with an option using AI, and he calls up the director and he says, I got it fixed. I don't think you're going to like how I did it, but I got it fixed. And the director says, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to like it, and I don't want to hear it. And don't just forget it. Like, we got what we got that day. It's good enough. And that was, they like some people don't even want to have anything to do with it within their productions at all. So it's, yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, like I said, I had a gig today. So as of this moment, I am not personally experiencing, necessarily a slowdown or being replaced yet, but I am also acutely aware that could happen at any moment. So, you know, I'm grateful from my perspective. It has not happened. The things I'm working on are high enough profile and they have the big enough budget where they still want the real deal. They still want real humans, you know, but who knows? I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath because, in other words, I'm saving my residuals, you know, like we just don't, and thank goodness for those, you know, but we just don't know where this is going and we have to sort of plan for the worst, hope for the best, plan for the worst. But, you know, I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. I'm grateful to be here for now. Anything could end, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm just gonna enjoy it and try to be as good as I can at this while I can. And I always say, in terms of voiceover, if this is going extinct, who knows? I'm going down on this ship. Bottom line, like, this is it for me. So I will be one of the last voice actors standing if that's what happens. But
as you say,
hope we have jobs.
You have no other marketable skills.
Yeah, exactly. Completely useless.
I know that feeling.
I'm a total bum. Yeah.
I have no other skills whatsoever.
Yes.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to Tribooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, proaudiosuite.com.